Well, coming up in moments, we're going to visit with Frankie Cartoscelli, our Sactown Sports.
That's what we do.
Kings insider. He'll be joining us here. And actually, Frankie is here right now, ready to go. Good morning, Frankie.
Good morning, Jason and Dave's chair and Verlot. How you doing?
We're doing well. I know there's a lot for us to get through, and I don't know if we want to start with Friday, if we want to start with last night, but maybe we'll go with Friday first, Frankie, because that was going to be a weird night. I think it kind of played out that way. The most important thing is the Kings won, but just curious your thought on just the other stuff, because the headliner was De'Aaron's evening, and we were all kind of wondering how that would all go. What was your take on Friday night with De'Aaron coming back?
Yeah, very strange feel. It was just interesting, from my perspective, just being gone for a month or so for the paternity leave. And last time I went to a game, really, Fox was there in uniform for the Kings, and they were playing some good basketball. And seeing him back on the floor again for the first time in a Spurs uniform at a time where really the main storyline leading into it was how would fans react? What would the reception be? And I think that, I think people on TV said that they heard cheers coming through pretty clearly. And it did seem pretty 70-30, 60-40, maybe if you want to lean that way. Positive reception for Fox. And, he had a nice reception and a night that really overall for the Kings, I think a lot of people were looking to, will Fox have a, 30, 40, kind of like back to when Boogie came back when he was with the Pelicans, that 40-point, 20 rebound kind of type performance. And the Kings kind of have to deal with that. No, not really. Fox struggled for the most part. Keon Ellis did a great job defending him. The Kings really never had to worry about that game against San Antonio. And, that's good that they got to, get the best of Fox in his return, but also from the Kings perspective, great that they're continuing to take advantage of teams that they quote unquote should beat. And kind of leaking into last night's game, the teams that they need to beat, they're showing up, they're playing well overall, but you're going to be graded on wins, and the moral victories are long gone here. And, I was on the Alan Stiles show last week, and, Alan's pretty outspoken about how he is over the moral victories and wants the Kings to move on from that. I think everybody's on the same page there, but that doesn't mean that you can't look at the last couple of games. Their losses really Denver and Los Angeles, and not be encouraged a little bit. But again, graded on wins, not losses, and they got to win some more games here.
Speaking of that, I want to remind everybody you can listen to Alan Stiles 10 to 2. You can also download the app and check out the YouTube pages as well to get Frankie's entire appearance on that program and any other guests they may have as well, followed by Whitey and Kyle tonight, taking you all the way into Kings basketball. That's a point, Chris. That's a point.
Bing.
Yeah, bing. Frankie, I want to talk about the Kings defense on this little run of theirs. It seems like, they held Charlotte to 88. They held Utah to 101. They held Houston to 103, 98 for Dallas, 116 for Denver, 109 San Antonio. And then last night they gave up 111 to the Clippers, but they had them below 100 in regulation. So when I look at what's been happening this month, and I didn't expect them to be this competitive so far on the stretch, the thing I would point to more than anything would be it seems like they're buying into a lot of Doug Christie's team defense principles.
Yeah, and well, first and foremost, the most important thing is communication, and they're being very outspoken about wanting to communicate better on the floor and help guys out. They're not getting lost on switches as much, which happened a lot in recent months, and you're seeing Doug try some different things. And last night you kind of saw him interchange Keon Ellis and Jake LaRavia on James Harden, and a lot of Jake LaRavia on James Harden, especially in crunch time. And that's what Jake LaRavia does, and that's kind of his calling card. What it was in Memphis, why he saw the floor a lot. He could stretch the floor and play defense and defend multiple positions.
Like
the Kings are really starting to buy in. They're starting to buy in and kind of have to tap into those guys who can play defense at a high level. The Kings really only have three of them if you count Keegan Murray, who's been a his own plus in that regard. But Keon Ellis is the Kings' best defender. I think that's pretty clear. Jake LaRavia is someone who the Kings picked up at the deadline. That adds to the depth. So you're seeing a little bit of interchangeability there and a little deeper depth. You moved De'Aaron Fox, who led the league in steals last year, was a good on-ball defender when he bought in. And now you're kind of seeing Doug, who we all know was a defensive-minded player, all defensive guy, leaning into Keon, playing him a little more, and Jake LaRavia, who struggled shooting the basketball, doing a little better there, able to be a two-way threat. So you're seeing also Valanciunas down in the paint, who I think a lot of fans are pointing to his defensive, not defensive, I guess, but you can't really call him a rim protector, but he's a rim enforcer. He can enforce in the paint. He can, use his physicality to clear out and rebound your not seeing too much of a drop off in that production there that Domantas Sabonis is leaving behind while he's out. The rebounds per game are still pretty close there. But really, you're seeing a more physical brand of basketball, and that's what the Kings need to do against these teams that are bigger. And tonight against the Knicks, I'm sure you guys will talk about a little later today as well, but the Knicks are a very physical team, and they bullied the Kings of Madison Square Garden a month or so ago. And OG Anunoby was a guy who really just did whatever he wanted to get into the paint. No Jalen Brunson tonight, so you're going to see them kind of do it by committee again. But I'll be intriguing to see if the Kings can do it again and show up on the defensive end and keep teams really, in my mind, under 120. The Kings record when they allow 120, I can't remember what it is. I think they might be like 1-8 or 1-7, something like that. Not too good. Not too good chances of winning a basketball game if you allow 120 points. So if the Kings can keep teams under there, to me, for this team, that's a positive, which isn't asking for much, really. But yeah.
Just a real quick follow-up on that, Frankie. Look, Jonas has looked better than you could have imagined filling in for Domantas Sabonis. And I want to say this without taking any credit away from him. But one thing that worries me about some in the fan base is getting overly excited about his defense. There is no metric that I've seen at least, that shows that Jonas Valanciunas is a better defender than Domantas Sabonis. In fact, I saw something last week that surprised me that Sabonis is leading the league in post defense. But is it possible that Jonas Valanciunas is not a better defender than Domantas Sabonis individually, but that the Kings defense is better with Valanciunas' style of defense at the 5?
It's possible. I mean, it's hard to see just over this kind of sample size of games, but I mean, they play so similarly, like their brand of basketball is so similar. And I think that's one of the main reasons why the Kings went out and got Valanciunas, is because you could get Sabonis off the floor a little more. I do feel like the Kings really, for the most part this year, why they were getting burnt on the perimeter is because there is that kind of sense you have to overcompensate on the defensive end, and you have to kind of seal people off and not get to the paint because Sabonis is not a rim protector. So you're trying to protect Sabonis and keep guys out of the paint, and you're banking on guys maybe not shooting a high percentage from 3. But as we've learned for the majority of this year, that doesn't happen when you overcompensate and you double players that are entering the paint or trying to penetrate. You free up the perimeter, and the Kings entering, I can't remember if they're 28th or 27th. They're probably still in the 28th, 29th range of 3-point shooting defense, doing a little better as of late, it feels like. But I do feel like Valanciunas, you feel a little more confident for a guy who definitely is not, not that Sabonis isn't afraid to use his physicality. I feel like the physicality we see from Sabonis is more so him being able to take the brunt of contact on the way to the basket, whereas Valanciunas really initiates a lot of that contact on the defensive end and will clear out for boards. And, I don't think he's as crafty as Sabonis. He's more of a guy who's going to use his physicality and clear you out. And we saw it last night, I think, down the stretch, getting an offensive board and getting to the free throw line. But I think they're pretty similar. And, the jury may still be out on that, topic, but I do feel like they're, to me, a little bit on the defensive end. You don't have to really worry about helping him as much. You kind of feel like he can handle his own down there in the paint and not have to double as much.
Frankie, when do you think we see Monk and Sabonis? Monk maybe tonight, but when do you think?
I bank more. I mean, you never know, but the fact that they're on the court doing, activities and, there hasn't been a practice, I don't think, since that report from the Kings came out. So they probably want to have a practice logged and they have a couple days off before a big game on Thursday. I'd say they're both banking on Thursday. You know how the Kings and Warriors, that, call it a rivalry if you want, I guess. Some players look at it that way. Some fans look at it that way. But I think both are eyeing that game on Thursday night, national TV game. So we'll see what the update is when the injury report drops around 1:00. But the fact that the Kings said that Sabonis will be reevaluated on Tuesday, that to me means he'll be in play for Thursday, not guaranteed. But I know that Sabonis hates missing time, and if it probably was later in the year, he'd probably be pushing through it. But costly losses happening like last night, a game and a half, that kind of heightens the urgency, and the Kings don't have much time to waste right now. They need their guys back as soon as possible.
Which do you think is going to be more difficult to reintegrate, Monk or Sabonis?
I think Malik would be, in my opinion, I mean, Sabonis, what he brings is so valuable, but I think the Kings right now could use another kind of point of attack player. And you're getting a lot of Zach LaVine, a lot of DeMar DeRozan right now. You probably could use a little more Zach LaVine, honestly. I mean, he had a great look at the end of regulation last night, and 3-point shooting has spoken for itself. Reigning NBA Western Conference Player of the Week for at least a couple more hours. But I think having Malik you can mix and match a little more. And right now they're kind of banking on those two players to really create offense. And we've seen Keegan Murray play a little better, and he's been able to knock down threes and not self-create as much, but it really is a matter of DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine setting up the offense and really taking the ball to themselves sometimes. And I think Malik, the turnovers were high when he was the starting point guard before he went down. But if he can be controlled and kind of be the better version of himself and help out DeRozan and kind of get Zach LaVine some more open looks there as a playmaker, the Kings will be set up much better. And of course, that doesn't mean Sabonis coming back, not to, throw dirt on that. I think that having him back will be huge, but it's interesting that we still haven't seen a large, sample size of games of this team, this full new roster post deadline as far as injuries go and mix and matching rotations, how things have been changing on a game basis. But I think getting Malik back, in my opinion, would help, you lengthen the rotation. How do you get Keon Ellis's minutes back in there? That'll be interesting to see. It was Trey Lyles when Sabonis and Malik were both playing. Trey Lyles didn't see the floor in a couple of games. Does Doug look to keep going that route? If Valanciunas is in the backup center role, we'll see. But I'm intrigued to see what the rotations look like when both guys come back, and it looks like that could be this week at some point.
Frankie, how about the matchup with the Knicks? You brought it up earlier. No Brunson. The Knicks crushed the Kings the last time. They still got a lot of good perimeter players in Karl Anthony Towns. They've lost 3 in a row. Kings have that heartbreaking loss last night. I think we're going to have 2 teams on edge tonight in G1C.
Yeah, and I heard you talking about the late start. I don't think anyone that I know around the media game, or even fans for that matter. I mean, I have grandparents that watch every game. They don't love the 7:30 means what? 7:42 tip off. Yeah,
yep.
How about 10:40 in New York?
Yeah, I mean that's got to be miserable. That's got to be miserable.
4:42 in Hawaii though.
Oh, good point.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha. No, I think that, it's like I said earlier, it's going to be by committee, and at Madison Square Garden, Brunson at 25, I think, but OG Anunoby is the one who really was killing the Kings and kind of attacking Keegan Murray. And if the Kings can really limit OG and, Towns, like we talked about, we'll see if Valanciunas can be a plus on the defensive end, because I think Towns is going to be their hub tonight as far as who they're going to run their offense through. And we know what he can do as far as floor spacing and attacking the paint. So intriguing to see how the Kings show up tonight. Again, 2 teams that are really, I don't want to say desperate. I mean, the Knicks are sitting pretty there at 3rd in the East, and they have a good gap of games ahead of 4th. So it's really the Kings that are, every game is precious right now. And it's crazy how much of a turn of events that last night you're looking at jumping to 8th and a half game lead, and now you're almost 2 games back of 8, and a big game on Thursday. You don't want to be 3 or so games behind Golden State. So this is the time where the Kings need to dig deep and find out who they really are and beat the teams that they maybe shouldn't be by some people's opinions, but they have to. They have to show up in some of these games. You can't look at the upcoming schedule. I think Chicago is one game the Kings, quote unquote, should get, but I'm not sure, at least for the next 3-4 weeks, till we're near the end of the year, what games the Kings have that are, scheduled wins, if you want to even call them that. There probably isn't anything, nothing like that really exists, obviously, but you have Cleveland twice, Boston again, Oklahoma City on a back-to-back. It's just, it's a gauntlet. So you want to get tonight, even though it's a back-to-back against a good team, and focus on Thursday before you have a real hard upcoming schedule.
That's Frankie Cartoscelli, Sacramento Kings insider, right here on Sactown Sports, appearing with us every week and apparently on other shows as well.
Yeah,
I guess so. But he's thinking about us the whole time. Yeah. Frankie, appreciate you. We'll talk to you next week, friend. Have a good time tonight.
All right, guys. Have a good week.
All right, that's Frankie Cartoscelli. We'll take a break. When we come back, we will look at Kings and Knicks tonight at Golden One Center. We also have what to watch, celebrity birthdays, Allen Styles, and so much more. We'll start getting to it all next.
Live and local. With everything 49.